Did you know there's a $600,000 difference in median home prices between San Francisco and San Mateo? That's right. But here's the crazy part. San Francisco is actually the cheaper option. I'm Vivian Zhu, your Bay Area real estate guide, and after helping many families find their perfect home here, I've noticed most people get this completely wrong. They choose where to live based on home prices alone, but there's a hidden reason why San Mateo commands these premium prices. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why this price gap exists, and more importantly, help you figure out which Bay Area city is actually right for you. First things first, let's talk numbers. And I have to tell you, they're pretty eye-opening. When we look at housing costs across these three cities, you might be surprised. San Francisco, which everyone assumes is the most expensive, actually comes in with a median home price of $1.6 million. But here's where it gets interesting. San Mateo is significantly higher at $2.2 million, while Santa Clara sits between them at $1.9 million. For renters, the story is similar, but with some key differences. In San Francisco, you're looking at around $2,700 for a one-bedroom apartment. San Mateo jumps up to about $3,060, and Santa Clara comes in at $2,861. But these numbers only tell part of the story. Let's talk about what you actually get for your money in each city. In San Francisco, that $1.6 million might get you a beautiful two-bedroom condo in Pacific Heights or a smaller single-family home in the Sunset District. Move down to San Mateo, and that higher price tag typically gets you more square footage, a proper yard, and often better parking situations. In Santa Clara, you're generally getting the most space for your money, plus newer construction in many areas. But day-to-day expenses? This is where things get really interesting. San Francisco takes the lead on everyday costs. Groceries in SF will cost you about 25% more than in San Mateo. Eating out? Expect to pay about 36% more in San Francisco than in San Mateo. It's simple things too. A coffee in San Francisco might cost you $6, while the same drink in Santa Clara runs closer to $4.50. Transportation costs vary dramatically too. In San Francisco, you might save some money by not needing a car, but parking can run you $300 to $400 monthly if you do have one. San Mateo and Santa Clara both pretty much require a car, but parking is usually included with your home, and gas prices tend to be slightly lower than in SF. Entertainment and lifestyle expenses follow a similar pattern. A night out in SF, dinner, drinks, and maybe a show will typically cost you about 30% more than the same evening in Santa Clara. San Mateo falls right in the middle, though its prices tend to track closer to SF than Santa Clara. What really impacts your costs of living, though, is how these expenses align with your lifestyle. A young professional who loves trying new restaurants and going out might actually spend less in SF because they're not paying for car expenses and can walk everywhere. But if you have a family of four, you might find their dollars stretch further in Santa Clara, where you can get a bigger home and have lower daily expenses, even though they'll need to maintain two cars. Let me give you a real example of what your monthly budget might look like if you're making $200,000 a year, which is pretty standard for tech workers in the area. You're looking at taking home around $11,000 a month after taxes. In San Francisco, your monthly expenses, including a mortgage or rent, utilities, food, and entertainment, could easily hit $8,000 to $9,000, while in Santa Clara, the same lifestyle might cost you $6,500 to $7,500, even with car expenses factored in. But San Mateo usually lands somewhere in between, though housing costs could push it higher. Now, if you're wondering why San Mateo commands those premium prices, despite the overall cost of living being lower than San Francisco, it comes down to three factors: the school districts, the central location, and the perfect balance of suburban life with urban amenities. But that's a whole other topic we can dive into when we talk about lifestyle considerations. Now, when we talk about jobs in the Bay Area, each of these cities has its own unique specialty. And this is super important to understand because it could literally determine your career trajectory. Let me break this down for you in a way that actually matters for your day-to-day life. Starting with San Francisco, this city is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to tech and finance. You've got the big names like Salesforce, their tower literally dominates the skyline, plus Uber, Airbnb, and hundreds of startups. But here's what's interesting about SF. It's not just tech. The financial district is packed with banks and investment firms, and there's a huge tourism industry that creates tons of hospitality and service jobs. The average tech salary here sits around $150,000 for software developers, but I've seen ranges go way higher, especially with stock options and bonuses. Now, San Mateo is fascinating because it's become this incredible biotech hub. You've got companies like Gilead Sciences doing groundbreaking work here, plus tech companies like Roblox that are changing the gaming industry. Of course, these are just companies mentioned, and there's so many more. What makes San Mateo unique is its perfect location. You can easily commute to either SF or Silicon Valley, which means you've got access to job markets in both directions. The biotech sector here is booming, and what I'm seeing is a lot of new startups choosing San Mateo because they can attract talent from both SF and the South Bay. Santa Clara is what I call the OG tech hub. This is literally the heart of Silicon Valley. We're talking about companies that changed the world: Apple, Google, Intel, Facebook, and more. The job market here is incredibly strong, especially if you're in tech. The interesting thing about Santa Clara is that these big companies create this entire ecosystem of smaller companies and startups around them. Plus, you've got huge research and development centers here that are working on everything from AI to self-driving cars. But most people don't realize that these job markets are actually all interconnected. The craziest thing I've seen recently is how AI companies are setting up offices across all 3 cities to tap into different talent pools. San Francisco is becoming the hub for AI startups, Santa Clara has the big tech companies' AI divisions, and San Mateo is turning into the perfect middle ground where companies can attract talent from both areas. Now let's talk about the salary expectations because this is crucial. In San Francisco, a senior software engineer might make $180,000 base salary, but with stock options and bonuses, that could easily hit $300,000 or more. While in Santa Clara, salaries are pretty similar, especially at the big tech companies. For San Mateo, the salaries are competitive too, but you might find slightly lower base salaries offset by better work-life balance and lower overall stress levels. But it really is dependent on the company and position of the individual. The other thing that's really important to understand is the startup ecosystem in each city. San Francisco is startup central. You've got venture capital firms all over the place, especially around South Park and the financial district. San Mateo has this growing biotech startup scene that's really exciting to watch. And Santa Clara, the established tech giants there are like startup incubators. I've seen tons of people leave places like Google to start their own companies right there in Santa Clara. However, something that really matters to point out is how each city's job market has its own culture. While San Francisco is fast-paced, competitive, and always chasing the next big thing, San Mateo has this great balance of innovation and stability, especially with the biotech focus, and Santa Clara offers those prestigious tech jobs with slightly more traditional corporate structures. The city you choose could really impact not just your current job, but your entire career path. Speaking of Santa Clara's tech giants, what's really going to blow your mind is how the weather and microclimates actually impact where these companies choose to build their campuses. But we'll get to that fascinating connection in just a minute. For now, let's talk about transportation and commuting. Before we go any further, I want you to tell me in the comments below, which of these 3 cities would you choose from what you've heard so far? If you subscribe, you'll have videos breaking down all things San Mateo County, from the top suburbs to new local developments and more, so don't forget to subscribe. Let's get back and talk about something that can literally make or break your Bay Area experience: transportation and commuting. Trust me, this is one of those things that sounds simple but can completely change how you feel about where you live. In San Francisco, you've got what I consider the most comprehensive public transit system in the Bay Area. You're working with BART, which connects you to the East Bay and the airport, plus Muni's network of buses and light rail that covers pretty much every corner of the city. The system nearly handles 500,000 riders every day, and there's a reason for that. It actually works. Those iconic cable cars aren't just for tourists either. We have plenty of locals who use them daily, especially if you're tackling those crazy SF hills. But something really interesting about SF is that you can genuinely live here without a car. I have clients who haven't driven in years. The city is designated with transit-first mindset, with buses or trains typically coming every 5 to 15 minutes during peak hours. Let me be real with you. Some lines are more reliable than others, and the main routes are pretty solid. But if you're relying on some of the outer neighborhood lines, you might need a backup plan. Now, San Mateo's transportation situation is completely different. The star of the show here is Caltrain, and its location is actually genius. You're perfectly positioned between San Francisco and Silicon Valley. Want to work at a startup in SF? Hop on Caltrain northbound. Got a job at Google? Take it southbound. The train station is right in the heart of downtown, and during peak hours, you've got the baby bullet trains that can get you to SF in about 25 minutes. However, most people end up driving. You've got easy access to both Highway 101 and 280, which is great, but that convenience comes with a catch. During peak hours, especially around 101, traffic can get pretty intense. I'm talking about what should be a 25-minute drive turning into 45 minutes or even an hour. The sweet spot I've found is actually combining driving with Count Train. Drive to the station, train to work. You'll be surprised how many tech workers do exactly this. Heading to Santa Clara's transportation story, we have a city built around both the VTA light rail system and Caltrain, but the reality is a bit different from what you might expect. The VTA light rail is great if you're going to specific spots like Levi's stadiums or major tech campuses, but for daily life, most people find themselves needing a car. The good news is that Santa Clara was actually designed with cars in mind, so you're dealing with wider streets and generally better parking situations than you'd find in SF. The highway access is incredible. You're right by 101, 880, and 280, plus you're close to San Jose International Airport. That means you've got options for both commuting and travel. The traffic patterns here are also different from SF or San Mateo. You'll still hit traffic, but it's more predictable and often moves faster. Okay, but how much will this cost you? In San Francisco, a monthly Muni Pass runs about $98, which is pretty reasonable if you're using it daily. Parking, on the other hand, can cost you $300 to $400 monthly in some neighborhoods. Heading to San Mateo, a monthly Caltrain pass to San Francisco is pricier, around $200, but parking is often included with your home. Santa Clara, you're looking at car expenses, but gas prices tend to run 20 to 30 cents cheaper per gallon than in SF, and parking is rarely an issue. One final thing about transportation that most people overlook is the bike infrastructure. San Francisco has been adding protected bike lanes like crazy, especially post-pandemic, while San Mateo has some great bike paths, particularly along the bay. And Santa Clara, well, they're actually building an extensive network of bike trails connecting major tech campuses. It's not just about cars and trains anymore. The whole region is becoming more bike-friendly every year. But here's the thing. You have to love where you live, right? So now let's compare the lifestyle and amenities in these three cities. We all know that when it comes to what it's like actually living in these cities, this is where the real differences show up in your day-to-day life. Each city has its own personality, and trust me, it matters more than you might think. San Francisco is what I call a true urban playground. Every neighborhood here tells its own story. Take the Mission District. You've got incredible murals, some of the best taquerias you'll ever try, and this amazing mix of old school San Francisco and new energy. Then you've got Pacific Heights and its stunning Victorian mansions and incredible views of the bay. The Marina District, that's where you'll find young professionals brunching out at trendy restaurants and working out along the waterfront. But to me, it's the food scene that truly stands out. We're talking about more Michelin-starred restaurants per capita than almost anywhere in the country. And it's not just the high-end spots. Some of the best meals you'll ever have might be at a tiny dim sum place in Chinatown or a food truck in Hayes Valley. The diversity of options is mind-blowing, from $4 amazing tacos to $400 tasting menus. Then we have the city's culture. On any given weekend, you might find yourself at an international film festival, a jazz performance in North Beach, or an art gallery opening in Hayes Valley. The city has over 230 parks, but Golden Gate Park is something special. It's actually bigger than New York City's Central Park and packed with museums, gardens, and even bison. Yes, actual bison. Now, San Mateo is a completely different vibe, and this is where I see a lot of families gravitating towards. The schools here are excellent. We're talking about some of the most top-rated school districts in California, but it's not just about education. The community feels there is something special here. You've got these beautiful neighborhoods where kids can actually play outside, people know their neighbors, and there's a sense of space you just don't get in SF. But something people often don't realize about San Mateo is how amazing the outdoor access is. You're minutes from some of the most beautiful beaches in the Bay Area, like Half Moon Bay. The hiking trails in the hills offer incredible views of the entire bay. Downtown San Mateo has really come into its own, too. You've got this great mix of restaurants, from authentic Japanese ramen to California farm-to-table spots. It's not SF-level dining, but it's got its own charm and quality. Heading to Santa Clara, the city brings something unique to the table. It's this fascinating blend of suburban comfort and tech innovation. In fact, The city has this incredible energy that comes from being at the heart of Silicon Valley. You'll find these amazing public spaces that were designed with tech workers in mind. Think parks with high-speed public Wi-Fi and coffee shops that look more like co-working spaces. The recreational facilities here are actually top-notch. You've got the new 49ers Stadium, which brings major events to the area, plus some of the best maintained public parks I've seen in the Bay Area. The community centers offer everything from coding classes for kids to senior yoga sessions. It's very future-forward in its thinking. But while Santa Clara might feel less culturally diverse than SF at first glance, it's actually got this amazing variety of Asian cultures represented, especially in its restaurant scene. You'll find some of the best Korean, Vietnamese, and Indian food in the Bay Area here. The annual Art and Wine Festival and weekly farmers markets have become major community gatherings. But let's discuss something I know most people will worry about: the nightlife and entertainment. Each of these cities has actually a different approach to that matter. San Francisco is obviously the powerhouse here. You've got everything from underground jazz clubs to major concerts at Chase Center, while San Mateo scene is more laid back with wine bars and brew pubs being the main attractions. Santa Clara, it's got this interesting mix of traditional sports bars and modern gastropubs, but you're close to San Jose to tap into their entertainment scene. The shopping experiences are distinctly different too. San Francisco has everything from luxury boutiques in Union Square to quirky vintage shops in the Haight. And San Mateo's Hillsdale Mall just got this amazing renovation. And you've got lots of boutique shopping downtown. Heading to Santa Clara, you'll find a retail scene that is more practical and tech-focused. Think big box stores and shopping centers, but you're also close to Santana Row for that luxury shopping fix. So before we wrap this up, let's talk about something that shockingly impacts your daily life here more than you might think: the weather. San Francisco weather is absolutely fascinating. Everyone knows about Carl the Fog. Yes, the fog actually has a name here, but what's really interesting is how the city's microclimates work. You could be in the Mission District enjoying a sunny 70-degree day, drive 10 minutes to the outer sunset, and suddenly you need a jacket because it's 55 and foggy. This is especially true during summer, or what locals like to call Fogust, because that marine layer loves to hang around in August. The fog pattern in SF is actually pretty predictable once you live here. It typically rolls in the late afternoon and burns off by mid-morning. But here's what's wild: the temperature stays incredibly stable. We're talking about average highs around 67 degrees year-round, and it's like the city has natural air conditioning. Some neighborhoods like Noe Valley and Potrero Hill tend to be warmer and sunnier because they're protected from that marine influence. Now, San Mateo is where things get interesting. You're still getting some of that coastal influence, but it's like someone turned down the fog dial about 30%. You'll still see a roll-in, especially during summer mornings, but it burns off more quickly than in SF. The temperatures are generally a few degrees warmer, which might not sound like much, but trust me, when you're trying to plan an outdoor barbecue, those few degrees will make a huge difference. What a lot of people don't realize about San Mateo is that it sits in this sweet spot where you're far enough from the coast to avoid the heaviest fog, but still close enough to get that natural cooling effect. This means summers are comfortable without being too hot, and winters are mild without being too foggy. It's really the best of both worlds. Santa Clara, now this is where the weather pattern completely changes. You're looking at significantly warmer temperatures. We're talking 80-degree days being common in summer. The fog barely makes an appearance here. This is why you'll see so many tech companies with these beautiful outdoor campuses in Santa Clara. They can actually use them year-round. Another thing to point out is how remarkable the sunshine is here. You're looking at about 260 sunny days per year, compared to San Francisco's 190. This makes a huge difference in lifestyle. Outdoor dining is more predictable, you can plan events without worrying about the fog, and solar panels are incredibly effective here. To finish this all up, let me recap to help you figure out which of these Bay Area cities might be the right one for you. If you're someone who thrives on urban energy, loves having endless cultural options at your doorstep, and doesn't mind paying a premium for that lifestyle, then San Francisco is your spot. The city's never boring, but yes, you'll pay for that excitement with the higher cost of living and some foggy days. Now, San Mateo is perfect if you're looking for that sweet spot between city and suburban life. You'll get excellent schools, a strong sense of community, and really great access to both SF and Silicon Valley. The housing prices are high, actually higher than SF in many cases, but you're getting more space and that family-friendly atmosphere many people crave. Lastly, Santa Clara is ideal if you're in tech, love sunny weather, and want more bang for your buck in terms of housing. You'll probably need a car, and that cultural scene isn't as vibrant as SF, but you're getting that perfect Silicon Valley lifestyle with amazing weather and access to incredible job opportunities. It really comes down to your priorities and what you value most in your daily life. And remember, there's no wrong choice here. It's all about finding the right fit for your lifestyle. So if you're thinking about moving to any of these cities, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource. We know these areas inside and out, and we can help you find the perfect home that matches your needs. All you need to do is email me at hello@theownteam.com to get started. Or you can call and text the number right down in the description. And hey, before you go, if you liked this video, you'll definitely want to check out our next video, where we tell you all about the other San Mateo County cities that are booming lately and why. I promise you'll be impressed with that list. Click here to watch next, and we'll see you in the next one.